Good morning and welcome to the IBS Insider Cybersecurity Briefing. My name is Margaret Johnson, and it's my pleasure to welcome you this morning along with Mike Mullen, President of IBSRE. And we want to bring you up to speed on what's going on with cybersecurity and, most importantly, why you should be concerned. Things like, do you know the difference between a breach and a compromise? Or are you even concerned about being hacked? And spoiler alert, if you're not, you probably should be. And what do you think the biggest cybersecurity threat is to your business? And other questions like, if you lost all the money in your business bank account, would it hurt? Without further ado, let me bring Mike into the table and let's open the conversation. Mike, how you doing this morning?
I'm great, Margaret. Thank you. Listen, I'm really excited to be here to kind of talk about what's different, what's changed in our world today. I mean, cybersecurity and cyber attacks during the pandemic, have doubled, tripled in size, and they're getting smarter and better at it. And we all have to be very concerned about what it means to our businesses.
Wait a minute. We all do, even tiny little businesses with like 10 people, we have to be concerned?
Absolutely.
Wow.
We have to remember, I know lots of people, I've heard this story many times of, oh, we're just too small. No one's looking for me. You're right. No one is looking for you, but bots are out looking for anybody they can find. And when these guys send out ransomware attacks, they send it out to 500,000 email accounts. They're not sending it out to you individually. They're sending it out to anybody that might click on this stuff. So that's what we have to worry about, is that it's not in some individual, it's automation that's doing this, and we have to realize that it can happen to anyone. And it's not if, it's going to be when. And what happens when we are attacked, or we are spoofed, or we are compromised in some way.
So Mike, what is the difference between a breach and a compromise?
So a breach would be someone who got into your systems and got to your data and maybe took your data. A compromise would be almost anything else. So somebody who was if you look at a business email compromise, it's somebody who is misdirected to wire money to a criminal. They're never get into your systems, but they compromise the integrity of your systems by having individuals do things that they shouldn't do. I always talk about the scariest inch in cyber world is the inch between your fingertip and the click of a mouse, because you just don't. These guys are really good at what they do. They're professionals. It's a big business, and we have to be vigilant in how we react to things on our computers.
That's really the most amazing thing, is that people consistently don't realize that. And I used to tell this story way back in the day. Okay, maybe they're not after you. This is way back in the day. Maybe they're just after your computer so they can use your computer as the gateway to try to break into the NSA. And guess where the black Suburbans roll up to?
That's right. And it's not just to get into your computer, it's to get into your computer that's now on a network that's attached to somebody else's computer, who's now attached to the company's bank account. So it's once if a breach occurs, and by the way, it's 120 days usually that they're in your system before anybody recognizes they're in your system. They know exactly what's going on. They have fouled email trails. They understand who tells who to do what. And so once they're in there, they know who the CFO is. They know who he would send a wired instructions to. So when those things happen, it's usually because they have investigated your network and they understand the social interaction that occurs within your company.
Oh, wow. So we're going to come back to that, because I do want to talk about vectors. And I know that in certain neighborhoods, if you have certain pests, you call vector control, and they take care of the vectors, right? it's not quite the same in cybersecurity, I'm guessing, but what is a vector? Start there, and then tell us what all these fancy icons mean, because they're really good looking, but the one looks like a candy shop, and now I'm hungry.
Well, vectors are the means by which someone would look to get into or take advantage or steal from you. So there's many different ways that happens, from stealing your credentials and logging into your bank account and transferring all your money out of your bank account to.
Okay, so that's the first one, right? Employee credentials.
Yep, employee credentials. So
and last year,
61% of all the attacks that occurred last year were hacked employee credentials.
Wow.
And so once they know your email, and so what do? They send you an email that says, hey, your password has expired. Please enter your username and password to get a screen that changes your password. Well, all they're trying to do is capture your password. And it might look like it came from Microsoft or Salesforce or somebody else.
Or if your business email's been compromised, it might look like it came from your IT director.
Correct.
Oh, my word.
IT support at, right?
Yeah.
That could happen to anybody. And most of these attacks occur via email. Almost 100%, like 94% of all attacks are delivered via email, because we're in it all day long. I don't know about anybody else, but I get hundreds of emails every day. I delete probably 80% of those emails, but I get hundreds of emails a day. And if I'm not conscious of what's going on, and I've stopped and said, oh, I wonder what he wants, and then realized, no, he wouldn't want that, and delete it.
Now, but wait a second, though. Is this just only the business email that you get to your business account? I mean, what if somebody in your company is checking their Gmail or their Outlook email, their Hotmail?
No, as long as if you're on a company's device, logged into some site from on that device, anything that happens is you could pick that device and go back to the company network, put it on the company network, and whatever malicious malware or whatever might be there would then could be spread across your entire company network.
Wow. So it's not just the business email, it's anything you open and click on your device could expose not only your business stuff, but in theory, if you log into your bank account, your own personal bank account, that could be exposed too, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. So you have to be very careful what you click on. We should all be looking at.
And where?
Correct. I mean, a bank is not going to send you an email saying, go change your password.
Mm-hmm.
When you log onto the site and you log into their application, they may then ask you to change your password, but they're going to look for credentials before they do it. And they're never going to do it via email or the phone.
Right. Okay.
Like I said, most attacks occur, most breaches occur. There's 120 days before anyone even knows they're in the network. What can happen in 120 days? Every piece of PII that may be stored, and that's personal identification information, right, that is stored on that. So if you're in the property management business and you have residents or tenants and you've stored their social security number, or their tax ID, their addresses, who's in charge, all that kind of stuff, if that's stored on your network in an unencrypted manner, that could easily be lifted and be sent out of the organization at 2:00 in the morning. No one even knows the traffic exists unless you're watching that, right? Someone should be watching traffic in the middle of the night. If there's outgoing traffic in the middle of the night, it's probably not a good thing. And and that person that should be stopped in midstream.
So by the way, I want to add, especially for folks who came in late, the Q&A panel is where you can ask any questions that come up for you during the session. And if Mike says any lingo that you don't fully understand, ask the question, because he tends to do that sometimes. Like he caught himself, but PII almost slipped through right there. And so go ahead, no shame, ask the questions, because we want to make sure you know what the story is. And that includes some of this fancy lingo that, like we're describing right now, the vectors. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes. So what one of the icons represents that even though people are attacked, over 25% of them don't do anything to stop it from happening again. And by the way, once you've done something, like let's say you get ransomware, and you decide, listen, I don't have a good backup of this. This is very important data. I have to pay this ransom. And you go open a Bitcoin account and you pay whatever the amount is. It may be a little amount, it may be a big amount, depending on what they think it's worth, right? So you pay the ransom amount and you get your data back. Understand that 3 months, 6 months, 9 months later, they're coming back at you, because they know, you've got a Bitcoin account and you pay, and you have a tendency to pay ransom. So if they can make it happen again, they're going to make it happen again.
But that is absolutely shattering, that more than 25% don't do anything to prevent another attack. When you go back and look at that close sign and you recognize that 60% of small and medium-sized businesses will go under within 6 months of an attack, and more than 50% of attacks are against small businesses.
That's right. Almost 60% of all attacks are against small to mid-sized businesses. Absolutely.
So small business has got to pay attention to this.
And two things happen with small businesses, right? Their reputation gets hurt. If you expose personal information through a hack, you have to then go tell all your customers that this has happened, and you have to tell them that you'll pay for security around their accounts for a year while to ensure that their information isn't breached because of the information you've exposed. So besides maybe losing money, paying Bitcoin, restoring from backup, be down 2 or 3 or 4 days, your reputation gets hurt as a small business. And if my reputation's hurt as a small business, I may go to a different small business or a bigger business to do my transactions in the future. So that certainly affects how businesses are adversely affected from these things and end up closing down.
Wow. All right. Well, so one of the things that happens here is this phenomenon called social engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the social scene a little bit. And I think you make a really great point here. The criminal business model has been commoditized. And you told me the other day that you can actually buy cyber attacky stuff for cheap.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that.
You can buy ransomware as a service for $28.
All right, hold on a second. Everyone, we want to make it clear this is not a business opportunity for you. We are not recommending this as a business opportunity.
That's true. But from 2 kids in the basement that want to raise money for a weekend to criminals that want to, professional criminals that want to raise tens and thousands of dollars, very easily they can buy one of these ransomware packages and deploy it across as many email accounts as they can afford to buy. And those email accounts are as cheap as sometimes a penny, 10 cents. Really good ones are $1. But you can buy a massive amount of emails for very, very little money on the dark web. And it doesn't require
a couple $100. You could really do some damage to some
That's
people.
Right. And if you're just trying to do this to raise a little bit of capital, you could do ransom for $1,000. And if you send it out to 50,000 people and one person gets ransomed and they pay you your $1,000,
you got your concert tickets.
Yeah, you have a great weekend ahead of you, right?
Right.
And it requires very little technical skills to do this. It's a kit.
But that sounds like hobbyist world. And in reality, there are people who this is their full-time job. Right?
Absolutely. There are criminal gangs that get up every morning and turn to their computer and say, okay, start. And they're looking for opportunities to take your credentials, take your information and use it against you. And again, remember, it's not if this is going to happen to people, it's when is it going to happen, and how do you respond to these kind of activities that are against you. And it's changed a lot. I mean, the over the last 2 years, the amount of attacks that have occurred are up hundreds of percent. So it's just not, it's not if, it's when.
Well, and they're everywhere, right? I mean, it's not just email. I've had people fall prey to this, share this post on Facebook and click through to get your coupon for $50 off at, Aldi.
Yep.
Or JC Penney or whatever.
Yep. Any one of those things, those Costco is giving out $100 gift certificates. All you have to do is like and share this thing. They're probably not,
right,
and you shouldn't.
Well, and it's Costco who's doing, or it's Costco.us, which is not their domain.
Right. And you could just be out cruising the web. If you end up on a site that either has been hacked or is a malicious site, stuff can be dropped on your computer without you even knowing. Those messages that come up and say, "Hey, your computer's been hacked. Dial this number and we'll help you with that." Those kind of things are just usually drive-by kind of activities that you end up having something come off the website and it's now on your computer, and it really looks ominous. It's not as ominous as it looks like, as it is, but if you dial that 800 number, they're going to have you getting gift cards or giving them Bitcoin, and you're looking at your screen and it's red. It looks scary.
Well, and social engineering can take a lot of forms, right? I mean, it can be everything from watching people enter their passcode to get into a building to calling somebody on the phone and saying, "Hey, I need you to go to this website because something and your computer is something weird and blah blah." And we even hear stories on the news about people who dial the phone and say, "Grandma, I'm in jail. I need you to send Apple gift cards to this."
Yeah. Hey, my mother was actually got one of those phone calls, and she was smart enough to hang up and call me. But that people are out doing whatever they can to take what's not theirs. These are professional gamblers. Are professional thieves. It used to be somebody would rob you with a gun in a dark alley. Then they realized if they stopped the train, they could get a lot more people at one time. The internet is a train times a billion. It's just everyone's on it, and it gives access to multitudes of people who will do things unsuspecting.
So my computer came with this thing called Windows Defender. Is Windows Defender enough to cover me on all this stuff that you're talking about? And pretend for a moment that I'm attached to a corporate network.
Windows Defender is a fine antivirus machine, anti-malware piece of software. But that is a small percentage of the attacks that occur. Yes, it can help you keep a virus off your computer, but it's not going to keep you from typing in your credentials, thinking that you're typing in the Bank of America and it's BFA instead of B of A. It doesn't know that. It's just going to be protecting you from pieces of malware that may do screen scraping and that kind of stuff. So it's
screen scraping.
So screen scraping would be when you type something in, it will grab those credentials and send them off to the motherland, to the mothership, right? So if you're even if you're logging into your own bank account, if you have this piece of malware on your machine, they'll know you put a username and a password in, and it'll scrape that stuff off as you're typing it in and send it off to the mothership, and the mothership will then use it to get into your bank account.
So this social piece, combined with the fact that majority of attacks come via email, Windows Defender is not going to stop any of that.
No,
We
you
have
need
to do something much more robust.
correct. There is anti-spam and anti-phishing filters that you can put around your email accounts, and everyone should deploy those. Some of them are better than others. You should make sure that you're using the best one you can use. But things still get through.
Phishing.
Phishing
Okay.
things still get through. Absolutely. Phishing is
the PH version of phishing is
a email that is attempting to get you to do something that will compromise your identity. Basically, that's what it comes down to. So it's an email that says, it's a Microsoft, it's a spoofed email. So it's Microsoft sending you an email that says your password's expiring, or you've run out of storage on your OneDrive account, or whatever those things might be, that has you enter your username and password, that
in a fake place.
In a fake place. Yeah. That then is gathered and used against you, and sold on the dark web to other people who will then use it against you too.
So let's keep moving. There's a lot here, and I'd like to just go to the Bolo slide.
Sure.
Yeah, and talk us about what the heck. So ransomware is when your stuff gets held hostage, right?
Yep.
So when your
files are encrypted, and you cannot access those files.
So we've seen that on some TV shows, right? In the hospital, it said, pay us $1 jillion in Bitcoin or you're not getting back into your systems.
Well, in the Colonial Pipeline, I mean, we've seen this in lots and lots of places. I mean, last week, a local school district in northern New Jersey got ransomware. The week before school, and by the way, finals were canceled at that school. And the teachers had to go back and teach the old-fashioned way with overhead projectors and chalkboards and whiteboards versus everyone's converted to these electronic whiteboards and computers, and all their lesson plans were on computers. And so they really had to go back to the 1980s, 1990s about teaching, and most of the teachers weren't even doing it back then. So it was a big change for them. And it's happening everywhere all the time. You only hear about the big ones. You don't hear about the ones that they ask for $10,000 or $25,000 or $500. And people are embarrassed when this happens. So it's not like they're going to run out and try to make headlines that I got attacked by ransomware. It is still the biggest threat out there, is still ransomware, because it is so simple to deploy, and so simple to collect money with. You need to make sure that you've got, that you're backed up locally, you're backed up in the cloud, and you're backed up that you're spread at multiple sites in the cloud, so you're not just at one place. Because if you're backing up on these new devices, we're backing up every 15 minutes. Well, if we back up the encrypted files onto your backup that then gets put up in the cloud, now your cloud's backed up. So you have to make sure that there's segregation between your backups, and you can get to that data.
Wow.
But even
Definitely
if you had
a pro here.
if you had to restore from the cloud, depending on bandwidth to your bandwidth, the amount of data you can get out of the cloud onto your system, it can take, and how much data you have, it could take 3, 4, 5 days before you be able to restore your data back to the server. And you have to rebuild your server, get everything on, get all the malware off it, all the ransomware off your computer and off your network, and then you have to restore. The business could be shut down for a week to 10 days. I've heard of businesses being down for 2 and 3 weeks to getting rid of ransomware.
Wow.
And all the computers have to be restored, have to be recloned from back to a zero-track restore, which is just having to start all over again.
Bare metal.
Yep, bare metal restores. So,
wow.
So BEC, is we talked about a little bit earlier, is business email compromise. These are people who have who understand how work flows within an organization, usually, They send an email, and sometimes you'll hear it is called CEO fraud or CFO fraud. An email comes from a spoofed email address that says it's the president or the CEO or the CFO of an organization, to usually someone in the organization, a controller, some accounting person that's in charge of wire transfers. And it says, hey, we got this important deal. I need to get this money wired out as soon as possible this morning. And it could be 50,000, it could be 150,000. And that person taking direction from the CEO or CFO goes in and goes to the bank and wires the money out. And as soon as that money hits that account, and it gets bounced out of that account and it goes to Thailand or
Russia
or Eastern Europe or Russia,
yeah.
and you're never getting that money back ever.
Okay, but wait a second. Isn't that why I have cyber insurance?
Well,
and we're getting close to out of time. So hit the insurance thing.
Okay.
And then we got to let people go.
Yep. So yeah, we get cyber insurance and it's been helpful, but I'll tell you what, these guys, the cyber insurance business understands this is getting bad, right? So 6 months ago, less than a year ago, the image on the right would be all the questions you had to answer to get cyber insurance.
Image on the left, you mean?
Image on the left, I'm sorry. The image on the right is what you have to apply now. 6 pages of questions. And by the way, if you answer one of those incorrectly and you file a claim, they'll figure out you didn't do that. You didn't do what you said you did, and they will deny your claim.
Wow.
I heard a story earlier this week. Company sent out 150,000 in 2 wire transfers through BEC compromised. They had cyber insurance in place. They went to their cyber insurance company, filed the claim. The insurance company basically said this was a human issue, and in their policy, that human issue only pays 10% of the loss. So they got a check for $15,000. So you have to be careful. They were
out $135,000, even though they were insured.
That's correct. You have to make sure your insurance that you understand what your limits of your insurance is, and you better make sure that when you apply, when you fill out that application, you fill it out correctly. And if there's things,
but don't agents tell you just answer yes to everything?
Oh, absolutely they will. Because what do the agent do? The agent's just making a commission, right? They want you to be underwritten. So they'll tell you, and in fact, many agents I've seen actually fill it out for you and just have you sign it. But when it comes down to a problem and a claim being done, and they go back and look at your application, if they find things on that application that are falsely done, they're going to deny those claims.
Now, can small businesses afford cyber insurance, Mike?
I think so. It's still an affordable insurance if you understand what you're doing. I don't know that you can afford not to have cyber insurance.
Well, yeah, not a lot of small businesses have $130,000 they can afford to lose.
I mean, we all have
even $15,000 can compromise a small business and shut their doors.
We all have business insurance. We all have medical insurance. We have emissions and errors insurance. We all have insurance that we pay for, and we hope that the return on these insurance policies is zero. Right? We never want to file a claim ever against any of our policies, but we pay them. And the cyber insurance is one that you should take care of and put in place. Just make sure when you apply for it, you work with a person that understands the application and fills it out properly. Answering no to any of these questions does not mean you would not be underwritten. It may be your premiums would be higher, but it does not mean you'd be underwritten. If you answer falsely, though, your claims will absolutely be denied.
Wow.
And
very
insurance premiums,
sobering information today, Mike. Thank you.
And insurance premiums are going up dramatically. I mean, we've seen increases as much as 200% from a year ago renewal.
Wow.
Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.